So, non-Lord of the Rings question. Can you still do the Thriller dance from 13 going on 30?
Yeah, but don't get me to do it right now.
I'm getting ready to review that on my podcast, so
cool.
now I can be like, yes, he said he can do it. He just won't right now, this very moment. Awesome. Thank you very much. The Badges this week continue all the way to episode 459 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. Can you tell I'm wearing underwear? Because I totally am. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like a direct on the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Bethlehem.
This is Chrissy.
Bingo.
Oh. I know you moved. This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I mean, really, dude, you should just be like, this is Brittany and on planet Earth.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to worry about it.
I lived in that city like 4 years. Ay.
Did we go through everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, we're here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. It's Monday.
The listeners are here too,
Yep.
and hopefully you haven't turned us off already. Nah, you guys love us.
Yep.
We're gonna have some fun today.
Yeah. All right. First, some news. Gen Con event registration is now open. It opened yesterday noon. I got in my account at noon, processed my wish list, and then joined the actual queue for processing at like 12:02, and I was number like 13,000 and something in line. So
flashbacks to university class registrations. Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah. So eventually it did process, and I went through the entire checkout thing, and then as soon as I hit checkout, it gave me an error.
Oh,
Which
no.
apparently a lot of people got. Thankfully everything I was registering for didn't cost anything, so I don't have to worry about like accidentally like charging my credit card multiple times or something.
Oh, that would suck.
But I went to the Facebook group, and somebody had already posted, and they're like, anybody else get this error? And I'm like, I did too. And somebody commented, it's like, yeah, if you go to your Gen Con schedule in your account, check and see if it shows anything there. That'll tell you whether it actually went through or not, and it did. So they're all in my schedule. So in my case, everything worked. Yay!
Woot.
I mean, I understand why they do it this way because it's so popular and a lot of people trying to do it. It's just whenever they say, okay, we'll open up at such and such time, everybody's there. And it's just like, pray for your servers, people.
This is when you need the IT people all hands on deck. You do not leave until this is done.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And no one make any weird voodoo spells or curses or whatever, and just let it do its thing until we're through the initial rush.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully, everybody who braved the system yesterday got what they wanted as far as registrations are concerned. So I wasn't aiming for anything that's like super duper popular. I don't think so. I don't tend to go with the mainstream stuff, so that probably works in my favor.
Probably.
But
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah, at least now I'm good to go. So
Awesome.
yay! Now I just wait. I shudder to think how warm it's going to be by the time we get to early August, but it is
Ooh,
what it
yeah.
is. 'Cause it's already really warm here. Like my poor air conditioning has been working overtime. So that being said, I mean, I kind of have to wait until early August for Gen Con, but I'm good to go. And then meanwhile, Chrissy has to wait even longer for Salt Lake Fan X, but that does not stop them from
No,
continuing with the
no,
guest announcements.
they dropped a huge announcement. Although a sign I am getting old, which I had my birthday this past weekend. Some of them I just didn't know, but some of them were voice actors. But two that I am very familiar with. One, Jason Isaacs. You may know him
Lucius
as
Malfoy.
Malfoy. What else is he? He was the voice of General Zhao in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
oh, that's right.
Yes, and he was in some Star Trek Discovery. And now I'm like, I know he's been in a bunch of other things, and I'm blanking. Oh, he was the snotty English general in The Patriot with Mel Gibson. Random, I know. But yeah, so he plays villains quite a bit and quite well, and but I have not met him, but I've heard from people who have that he's actually one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. So he's one of those guys. He's like, yeah, I'm a nice guy. I just play bad guys really, really well. So that's cool. And then
That tends to
also,
be the case.
yes, that is true. And then also we have and this individual's been here before. We've actually gotten his autograph, but it's cool to see him again. Timothy Zahn, the sort of the godfather of the Star Wars expanded universe. Author.
He's the reason we have Thrawn.
Yeah, the Thrawn trilogy.
You got Thrawn questions from Ahsoka. He's your guy.
he is the guy who created Thrawn, and I just finished listening to the Thrawn trilogy on audio, and the audiobook reader on that is fantastic. And then I'm reading another, listening to.
Is that Mark Thomas for the Zahn?
The what?
Mark Thomas for the Zahn trilogy?
Yes. So he did that. Yeah,
fantastic.
Thompson did that one. He also was reading this one I'm listening to, Spectre of the Past, although I had to send it back because my Libby checkout expired and somebody else had on hold. So but I got back on hold and they will keep my spot. But yeah, I'm listening to Spectre of the Past. I'm kind of on pause with that one. That's another Timothy Zahn novel. He's written quite a few, so that's exciting. Last time he was here, Jared, all his Star Wars books were in storage, so I made him dig them out. Like, he's gonna be here. You're gonna want them signed. So we have his old paperbacks signed already. So I'm like, okay, what else can we do? I'm sure we'll dig something else out that we can go talk to him and meet him. So yeah, so that's exciting. Salt Lake Fan X just added 2 more pretty big names. Oh, and the cool thing about Timothy Zahn, I like to plug this because I love getting authors' signatures, and sometimes people are like, well, it's like, well, do they charge for autographs? And with authors, typically, I'm not gonna say this as a blanket statement because there could be 1 or 2 out there who do this different, but if you have their book, they'll sign it for your charge. Because they figure, I mean, because they also have their books on site to buy. So they figure you've bought the book, they'll sign it for you. So you don't have to charge, they don't have to pay like 60, 70, whatever, however much for an author signature, especially if you already have their book. But really, they like to talk to people. So if you're ever at a con and you're like, oh, who do I go talk to? Go chat up the authors that are there. Because inevitably there will be some. So anyway, so that's exciting, and Salt Lake Fan X is still not until September. So, I mean, they've already got some pretty big names. announced. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yep.
And there will be more announcements before September, I am certain.
Mm-hmm. I am sure of that.
They usually tend to save really big ones for the end, so I'm curious of.
That is true. That is true. They save some big surprises toward closer to when the con will be. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm always like, oh, this is who they've got here and now in May. Oh my gosh, who are they gonna get?
Mm-hmm.
Like really. But anyway, but it's a good time.
Yep. Oh. Let's see. Entertainment news. We got a trailer for Wicked, which they're not advertising it as such, but just a reminder, this is Wicked Part 1.
Yes.
So it's gonna end with Defying Gravity, probably.
Probably.
So intermission
Yep.
in the musical.
I would hope
that
so.
would make sense.
Because it seems like this one is covering like the Elphaba and Glinda are quite young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this looks like Act 1.
Yeah. Yeah. But we see more of the world building. We see more of Shiz. Michelle Yeoh looks like she is going to be fantastic as the headmistress at Shiz. We see more Jeff Goldblum as the wizard. That's going to be a lot of fun. So we shall we'll see. We'll see how they pull this off.
Yeah.
Especially considering Wicked is coming through Indianapolis either later this year or early next year. So I'll be able to see the stage version close to the same time as at least part 1 of the movie.
I always wonder when they have these movie musicals come out, how that affects like any stage productions that are going on at the same time. I mean,
I think it depends on how good the movie adaptation is.
So we're like, so when Cats came out, we're like, people like, we're gonna go watch the stage production instead.
Maybe. I mean, I've seen the stage production of Cats. I have not seen the movie, and I don't really care to watch either, actually. So, I've seen the stage production of Phantom, and I have not watched the film version. But I didn't really care for the stage version. So, somewhere people are like, what kind of musical theater fan are you? I'm sorry, Andrew Lloyd Webber. You're a legend, but shows are not really my cup of tea, you know? Give me Hairspray or Spamalot over Cats any day, so.
Oh, goodness.
But that's a lovely thing about musical theaters. There's just a little something for everybody, so.
That's true, and there are so many. So anyway,
and I can I can understand in some cases doing the sometimes a movie adaptation, if it's done right, is good for the people that just have no way of getting to seeing live theater. But yeah, we'll see. we'll see how this plays out. So meanwhile, if you go to the Shiz University website, you can apply, I'm doing air quotes, you can apply to go to Shiz, and in the fine print it says while supplies last, they may or may not send you something in the mail.
Ooh.
So
check that out.
Yeah.
Right?
What? I do not know, but right now, you know, all the theater kids are like, it's like Hogwarts, but not, because you don't have to be 11. So.
Some of us are much older than 11.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Plus, you know, any place there's Jeff Goldblum, I'm game. So yeah, there's that.
This kind of seems like inspired casting, if in my opinion.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah. So there's that. And then I'm very excited about this. We're getting our next season of Only Murders in the Building. Starts August 27th. I'm so happy. I'm happy to see that group together again. Plus some returning faces. Meryl Streep is sticking around, at least for some of it. Plus we got some new faces. So, plus there might be some surprises. There usually are. So, but yeah. I have Martin Short's memoir. I should read that before the next season starts. Just for the hell of it. Also, Steve Martin and Martin Short are on tour together, or we're going on tour together. So you might want to check and see if they're coming to a theater near you. Because I would love to go if they were coming near me. Unfortunately, they're not coming close to me, but we'll see. May need to make a road trip. All right, there is that. And then in your feeds, if you have not downloaded and or listened to most recent episode of Next Stop Everywhere, Doctor Who podcast with our good friends Charles Skaggs and Jesse Jackson, Holly and I together.
Yes.
We're on to talk about the first 2 episodes of Shooting Atwa's first full season as a doctor. So Space Babies and the Devil's Cord.
Yes.
So that was a lot of fun.
It sure
talk about. It's been very interesting to see the fan discourse since this season has started, because it seems like, at least with the first 2 episodes, there was like no really like middle ground. You either loved them, loved an episode, or you hated it. I've yet to see someone take like a Switzerland neutral middle ground. So but yeah, that was fun. It was fun to return to Next Stop Everywhere, and yeah, especially when there's an episode that involves the Beatles.
Yes.
All right, so feedback from Shalane. She says, first, happy birthday, Chrissy. Just in case
Thank you.
You missed it. Yes, Chrissy's birthday was last Friday.
It was fun.
And she says, I think I know who Lottie is going to be for Halloween.
Well, it seems to change every so often. Like yesterday, she was telling everyone she's going to be Princess Zelda. So
yeah.
So we will see.
She's got a lot of time to make a decision between now and Halloween. So
yeah,
she does.
Yeah.
Although it would be nice if we could get it. We could get something going on there, but anyway,
yeah,
we'll get there.
Well, you also got to take into account any potential growth spurts she may have between now and then.
That is true. I had to buy her some summer clothes the other day, and I went a little big, but even that was too big. I'm like, she'll grow into it.
Yep.
Anyway, so yes.
Says, speaking of guest announcements here in Utah, if you girls didn't know, well, maybe Chrissy will. In the high school where the 80s Footloose was filmed, they got Kevin Bacon to come to their prom. That's
yes,
cool.
That was actually kind of a big deal because it's a little teeny tiny town called Payson, which is actually a lot bigger than it was in the 80s. In fact, the like you watch the movie and there's that the mill in the distance, like, and it's in like the middle of that just that empty field. Yeah, it's like in the middle of a city now. The roller mills. So it's like, yeah, this has come a long way from it being from Footloose. But yeah, the high school itself is further south in that valley, and they like, because it's like the 40th anniversary of Footloose.
That
Anyway,
sounds right.
sounds right. They got this like big petition to like, hey, can we get Kevin Bacon to come to our prom? And there was like, and it got some local media attention and things, but it was sort of a pipe dream, and lo and behold, it actually happened. So I'm like, you know what?
Oh,
Good
wow.
on you guys. You did good.
He's a good sport like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. I did see that in the news. I have no idea. Yeah, and she's like asking, think he'll ever come to FanX? No idea. I'm sure they have asked.
It's probably only a matter of time before he starts doing the convention circuit, because the 80s.
Oh yeah.
The stars from the 80s are.
He was in that Guardians Christmas special, Guardians of the Galaxy.
That too.
So it's like,
so technically Kevin Bacon, the person, is part of the MCU. So
they can't ever cast him as anything because it would just be.
I mean, they could.
They could. I don't know. There would be some interesting script juggling they'd have to do with that, but or they just don't even acknowledge it.
Yep, that would be more likely. They'll just not acknowledge it. Yeah. But he has also has street cred when it comes to like horror and sci-fi, so as well. So
yeah,
he's in Tremors, and
I'm sure it's just timing that they haven't been able to get him to come.
Yeah. He's got a music career too, so
that's true too. But yeah, so yeah, that's what it was like. They were like not sure they'd be able to get him to come to their prom this year. They did it. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, she says, I think they got some of the actors from the first Sandlot to come to FanX in the past. Yeah. Actually, they are doing a screening at a Q&A with a cast of the Sandlot here it's not in Indianapolis, but it's in a neighboring city later this summer. And Chauncey was like, oh my God, we're going. Because he loves the Sandlot. So, like, hey, it's your birthday coming up,
There you go.
You can start playing that card whenever you want. Says, but yeah, this past week there were plenty of news days after you girls recorded, as it does. Because we've got trailer drops for upcoming movies and TV shows. It's pre-San Diego and D23. Yep. Before you know it, Phantom Christmas will be here.
Yes.
Just I think they did a 3D showing of Titanic for I don't think I would call it celebrating let's say honoring 100 years after the sinking of the real Titanic.
That was actually one of the very first honest trailers they ever did.
Yeah. She says, me and my mom and my sister went to see it, but they didn't give us 3D glasses, and then after we got seasick.
Actually, I remember going and seeing it for that 100-year thing.
Yep.
Says, I also forgot to mention last week with the technology and special effects of Star Wars. But speaking of Titanic and special effects, the same thing happened with James Cameron's Avatar. I know you girls don't really care about that movie. No, I don't. He wanted to shoot this movie after Titanic, but they weren't sure if the technology was right then. Then Star Wars came, and other big blockbuster films throughout the 2000s has great special effects and technology. So then he decided to go work on Avatar. Sometimes I wish that movie would have been called Pandora, so we don't get mixed with Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Don't we all?
Yeah. So I also found out there are other films with the same titles, but are different. Yeah. Well, so Pandora is not that unique of a name. It's a jewelry line, a jewelry company. So I have Pandora jewelry.
But we wouldn't be confusing it for another piece of pop culture media.
Yeah. So.
But
Yeah.
whatever.
And how he wants to make like 5 million more Avatar movies. Like, why?
Oh, jeez. Okay, whatever.
Why do you
Didn't he like basically tell the same
things?
Story in the second one? Just
I don't know. I didn't see it. I don't care.
I didn't either. I just heard people talk about it, and I was like, that sounds like the same. That sounds like the same plot.
Yeah.
What do I know?
We're actually doing The Abyss on Gold Standard this week, which is OG James Cameron.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that'll be interesting to see, because I've never seen it in comparison to what James Cameron I do know. So.
Oddly enough, I actually it was called Outdoor Survival in middle school. It was a class, and like we went on a big camping trip, and they taught us all those survival tactics of basically Boy Scouts, but not actually being Boy Scouts. Anyway, we watched The Abyss in that class, and our teacher used it as like, now this is how you do this with if someone's drowning or something. I'm just like, this is a very odd choice. But yeah, so I saw that movie when I was in 8th grade in school. Like, all right then.
Yeah, I've never seen it, and I didn't. Then I was told that there are 2 different versions, so I needed to take into account which version I watch. So.
I don't know which version I saw, but anyway.
Yeah. So.
Oh.
Yeah. Okie dokie. I think you should lay in for your feedback as always.
Always a good time.
So, moving on to this week's main topic. So, dialing it back 20 years, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But rather appropriate, considering that one of the stars of this movie I just saw at PopCon. Unfortunately, I did not go to his panel, so I have no idea if anybody asked him about this particular role, or if they kept it strictly Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, that sort of thing. But I did ask him a 13 going on 30 question when I was getting my autograph, which, if you are Patreon supporter, you would have heard that early. If you listen to my PopCon recap, you would have heard that entire exchange, but probably for fun, I'll stick it in here too, just for those that may have missed it. Because it's not like a bit part. I mean, he's got a decent role. So,
especially if you are familiar with this sort of genre of movie, it is kind of a rom-com.
Yeah.
With
Wikipedia, which whatever, it is classified as a fantasy romantic comedy.
Yes. So, now I will tell you, I actually saw this movie when I was in college, because the little tiny town I went to a junior college to start off with. And it was the next town over, had a drive-in, and I had not been to a drive-in for a while. And a friend of mine, I was like, hey, let's go to the movie. And we were like, okay, let's go see this movie. because I had no idea what it was about. I never seen the trailer. I just wanted to go see the movie at the drive-in, and this was what was playing, and I thought it was cute. I quite liked it. Also made me a little sad because sometimes these sort of nostalgic growing old movies kind of do that, but not in a bad way.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun.
And
rewatching it here was a lot of fun too.
Yeah. So if you haven't figured it out by now, we're talking about 13 going on 30.
13 going on 30. Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo.
Which we touched upon a little when we talked about Mark Ruffalo when his name got drawn from the hat.
That's true. That's right.
But
this was the first Mark Ruffalo movie I ever saw, which it was kind of interesting because I remember seeing it, and because it starts off with they're all 13 in 1987, and it was kind of like there's Jenna and her friend Maddie, and they're all like, so it's like, okay, who do they cast to be because obviously Maddie is supposed to be the love interest as they're adults. Like, okay, who did they cast? And I'm like, Mark Ruffalo. Don't know who that is, but he did a good job. I like him in this role quite a bit.
Yeah. Although apparently they had cast different teens to play the 13-year-old versions of Jenna and Matt, and they did a screening, audience test screening, and the audience didn't like them.
No.
So they ended up recasting him, and that's how we end up with the Maddie and Jenna that we have. But it's wild because like this year is the 20th anniversary of the movie, but I remember a few years ago, well, it'd have been 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, because I think technically actually the Krista, who plays young Jenna, was actually 12 when she did it, but close enough. So anyway, it was 3 or 4 years ago where she turned 30. And people are like, she's the age now
that she's supposed to be.
Her character grows up to be in the film. So it's like that threw people for a loop. That it's like, yeah, young Jenna is now the same age as old Jenna is in the movie. So, but I thought that was kind of fun. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this, and it's an early aughts rom-com. Obviously it takes some references and homages to movies like Big, among others. It's like that same idea of this person, this teen who is, Jenna is 13, it starts on her 13th birthday, and
teenager, you're like, oh.
Right, it's like everything is, it's like early, depending on your school system, you're either in junior high or maybe high school. It depends on how your school's set up, but it's puberty and hormones and trying to decide, trying to figure out who you are and where you fit in the food chain.
Everything is a mess.
Everything, your parents are awful and embarrassing, and you just you want to fit in, and you
really want to be a popular kids,
right? And her birthday turns out to be a birthday party ends up being a bust, so she's like, ugh, even her mom before when she's dolling herself up so she's looking kind of like the cool girls, this is Yeah, we're the same era as like Mean Girls and the
Yeah.
like, the Devil Wears Prada. So this has got a little bit of,
There was a bit of a move.
Venn diagram overlap.
Yeah, there was sort of thing, and it was right before the superhero movies really took off. So it was like Hollywood was like, okay, we're doing the last vestiges of what was popular in the '90s, which there were a lot of rom-coms.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also as I'm watching this now. I admit I haven't seen Big, but this kind of made me think of like it's sort of a reverse Back to the Future. Instead of like, oh, I wonder what my parents were like when they were my age. Like, oh, like what am I going to be like when I'm my parents' age? And I want to see that. Like if teenage you could see what you are now, what would they think? What would they say? And in this one, Jenna grows up to be not a very nice person, and that is putting it mildly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. And it's like, and it kind of horrifies you. It's like, oh, is this what I wished for? Is this what I want? You get a little bit of It's a Wonderful Life thrown in there for good measure, because why not? And it's not just that, she's in with the popular kids, but that means, oh, I have to like be a backstabbing what, and I can't, I have to lie and cheat and do all these awful, awful things to the people I care most about.
Mm-hmm.
And the people I care most about aren't gonna hang around me if I act like this. I mean, kind of got to feel for poor Matt. You think about like, oh, here's, he's your best friend and he likes you and he goes to all this trouble, and she's just like, yeah, whatever. I want to be with the popular girls and mini Judy Greer, which I have to say, the girl they got to play young Judy Greer, I'm like, is that like her daughter or her like niece or something? Because they like look so much alike, and they're like talking about like, oh, you look so different. I'm like, not really.
Yeah.
Like, if you got a nose job, you probably gave you the same nose back.
Yeah, it's like if that's her nose after the nose job, then
okay.
What did she think her nose looked like before?
Right.
But I mean, it's it's like that whole, in order to that whole idea, like, oh, in order to she wants to be have a career being the editor of her favorite magazine, which I'm like, okay. I just kind of think of like the magazines I read as a teenager, and I'm like, would I have wanted to work for that? I don't know, but and obviously I didn't. But it's also very much like it's kind of left open ended. Like, is this was this really her going into her future, or is this a wish, a dream, sort of a thing? Because there are some things that it's not clear if this is real or what really would have happened, and it's more of. But then I don't know. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to pin down.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, when I was going to rewatch this and I was looking and I was like, the runtime's only an hour and 22 minutes. Like, that's not a lot of time. I mean, that's not even an hour and a half.
But
and I really I kind of wish that the movie was a little longer so that we could have fleshed some of this out. Like, I really would have liked to have seen, I don't know, like somebody had video or something of Jenna before, adult Jenna, before we're introduced to her being the biatch that she supposedly was, instead of it getting it secondhand based on these awful phone messages that her poor secretary has to relay to her.
I mean,
random guy she's been hooking up with that's married to one of her coworkers coming and like pawing all over her in her office.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree, because I kind of feel like we got a pretty good sense of what kind of person she was just by the way people reacted. Like, her poor secretary, is like scared of her because she just fired somebody else, and they're like, oh, please don't, like, and it's weird, and she's acting, but like when she's polite to the secretary, and the poor secretary's like, oh no, what's happening? What did I do wrong? She's like, no, I really want to, I need my messages from my mom and dad, and the secretary's like, are you serious? Are you kidding? So, and it's like, I don't know that they would want to belabor the point of like, yes, we know she was awful, she's a bitch. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like it was just the right amount of time to kind of have that, oh, I need to treat the people around me better, and appreciate the ones I have, because that's who's gonna actually show up for me, and not
Yeah.
Tom.
I just kind of wish that there had been something to bridge the two a little better, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. So, because it's like, yeah, we get the idea just how awful she is,
Or maybe
but it's like,
instead of like having written messages, actually have somebody show up at her office, or her house, and just kind of chew her out for, like have the coworker find out, what, you've been messing around with my husband,
yeah,
like that.
yeah, something. I just kind of
Have
wish there
to be a
had
little
been
more
like, or
real.
some sort of like, when she goes back to New Jersey to see her parents,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe have her mom, have her explain to her, like, I don't, because Jenna that we see, the adult Jenna we see, because she doesn't have the memories of how she got to where she is, she can't tell us.
No, and like we're just kind of
But I
in
just kind of
on
wish that
everybody
there had
around
been,
her
yeah,
saying,
I just kind of wish there had been something or someone to be like, yeah, in high school, once I've gotten with the six chicks and then became kind of their leader, and I started getting everything I wanted, prom queen, all these things, and I went to college and realized that, if I really want to get where I want to get, like in the magazine industry, I was going to have to, you know,
lie, cheat, and steal.
lie, cheat, and steal or something.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. There is a bit of a gap. It's just kind of hard to pinpoint, like, how would they have done that with the way they structured the movie, where it's like
Yeah.
13-year-old Jenna is all of a sudden 30-year-old Jenna, and she has to, realize what kind of person she's grown up into being, and
Hmm.
she's rightly horrified by it, because yeah, it's like if you're, any 13-year-old, and then you all of a sudden you're seeing yourself at 30 or as an adult, and you're like, I didn't think I was going to be like that, and
Hmm.
it sucks. So
And for her to, like her, you know, obviously it's that, her entire personality changed,
hmm
like overnight with what happened, presumably, if you want to call it the original the original,
yeah,
timeline or whatever, when she gets embarrassed, everything changes from that point on.
yeah, and
But it just seems
even
like,
Matt says,
yeah, like she's so desperately, when she and Matt are walking home from school, to the respective houses, which are right next door to each other. And she's talking, talking about her birthday party and how the sixes are coming over and all that. And Matt's all like, you gotta be, you gotta be yourself. And she's like, I don't want to be myself. I want to be cool. you know,
hmm
it's like,
she's
so
funny
she's like,
because, yeah, because like,
she's got the want there, but to just, to seemingly have her change her personality just so drastically in one instance, just, you know seems a
and
bit
that's
much,
what, yeah,
even for Hollywood, in my
yeah. Well,
opinion.
I think that's part of the evidence for it. Oh, it was a dream, or some sort of wish, or some sort of like,
Yeah,
it's a
it's a wonderful
wonderful
life
life
type
type of
thing.
thing,
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, it just happened, But then, I mean, who knows? I mean, and I kind of like that the movie keeps it open to interpretation that way, because then you can say, whatever makes sense to you is fine, because it all fits one way or the other.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? But yeah, it's just a fun, interesting little movie, and kind of. Well, it's interesting what happened, because what happens in the movie is when she's 13, she's like trying to emulate these models on the magazine, and trying to do her makeup like them, and dress like them. And then when she's an adult, and she is actually one of the editors of the magazine, and they've got to, whatever, rebrand, or reimage, whatever it was.
Magazine under.
She's like, I don't know, like she says about the magazine models, I don't know these women, but I know, these girls, like, they get the pictures of the high schoolers, the class of 2004, and kind of make it that more personal, real sort of thing. Like, here, we're actually going to talk to real people, real teenagers, and get their perspective instead of this fake, glossy, touched up non-reality. And it's just kind of funny that it's like when you were a kid, you wanted to be grown up, but then when you were grown up, you're like, well, let's look at these kids, and let's look at what they want, and what their interests are, and the things they want to read about, and stuff like that. And I'm just like, well, there's your Bill Bailey moment.
Yeah. Now, Holly, I know this was the first time you'd seen this.
Yes.
So as the fresh opinion.
Yes.
Pleasantly surprised. I wish it was just a touch longer to flush a couple things out, or at least it would have been nice if it would have had like some voice video recordings of what she sounded like before this witch dream happened, and just her befriending that 13-year-old in the elevator, and the 13-year-old kind of calling her on her behavior. Usually you just ignore me, and then just her taking her under her wing and having that group, and the Pat Benatar.
Yeah.
Love of the battlefield. I mean,
I will say the soundtrack for this movie is banging.
It is
awesome. And I mean, Mark Ruffalo, can you love him anymore with this?
I know, he's so adorable.
It's just like, okay, they made the right casting choice, and MCU did the right casting choice for recasting and having him play Bruce Banner. I mean, I just, for those who are on the fence with this movie, watch it. It's worth it. I mean, yeah. A little,
it's like it's
schmaltzy, yes, but it's still good.
And sometimes you need that sort of lighter fare in movies. Not everything has to be this ginormous sci-fi epic, fantasy epic. Sometimes it's just a little wishing dust, and maybe your life would have turned out a little bit differently if your 13-year-old self had gotten their wish, and maybe it's for the best. Oh, bless.
The young characters was perfect, and Jennifer Garner, I just got glimpses. It's just like I had to do double takes, because sometimes side view was like, wait a minute, is that Millie Bobby Brown? No, that's Jennifer. It's just like, if they recast, Millie Bobby Brown would be a perfect, stunt double, body double.
Yeah.
To take the place in the remake if they would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this time it would have to be, oh gosh, it would be 2001, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the 13-year-old. Oh,
yeah.
There you go. Now we all feel old.
Yeah. Kidding. Yeah, I mean, it's very, like I said, it's very much that early aughts where you should not and will not take this movie very seriously. It's just but Jennifer and Mark have fantastic chemistry together. Which is fun to watch. Judy Greer is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the quintessential mean girl.
Uh-huh.
Although
And
the scene where they're at the restaurant or the bar, well, I guess it would have been a restaurant, because when Lucy is saying, "Oh, he's checking you out," and Jenna
mhm.
like, "Oh, he's cute," and so instead of going to the guy who's like been making eyes at her, she walks up to the kid and asks, "Can I borrow your ketchup?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, that Lucy came in and kind of stopped it makes it not creepy,
Yes.
because that could have gone very poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still funny, and I am one who, I'm like, if I see an adult like trying to do anything skeevy with a kid, I'm like, where's the wood chipper? We're not doing this. And even I'm like, okay, that was actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And then,
yeah, it's like, good thing it didn't go any further than that.
yeah. And as we alluded to, Andy Serkis
Yes, Andy Serkis.
as
Now this is
the boss at the magazine, which is really funny considering he would have done this coming off of Lord of the Rings.
Yes, because this came out the year after Return of the King.
Right. So people would have been seeing him, maybe not realizing that this is the guy who's been playing Gollum in this big mega trilogy of movies that just like,
hey, we can actually see your face.
yeah. And I wonder how many people actually like made the connection, because like, yeah, you see his face at the start of Return of the King when he's playing Smeagol, but even then, it's like, I wonder how many people didn't realize it was like, oh yeah, that's the guy playing Gollum. Did you know that? Yeah.
Although I must have like seen him in other things a lot recently, because I'm watching him in this. I'm like, oh my gosh, he looks so young. It's like, well, because it was 20
Well,
years.
yeah. I mean, compared to like, watch him in Andor, and it's like, it seems like maybe it's been more than 20 years.
Maybe all that motion capture really takes a toll on a person. But
maybe it does.
It's like, wow, you look like a baby, but I know you just did Lord of the Rings, so I don't know.
That being said, he can still do the Thriller. I asked, so he was not going to demonstrate for me at that particular moment, but yes, he can still do it.
There you go.
Mark Ruffalo, I'm not so sure, considering apparently that's the part that he hated doing the most. And almost quit the movie.
Yeah.
Over the Thriller, because he did not want to do it.
Oh dear. Oh. Well, and that's part, like, his character's supposed to be like, okay, this is weird. This woman who I haven't talked to in in all this time, and she used to be my best friend. Like he's got like the real awkward sort of, what do I do? This is like not in the plan sort of a thing, but I also don't want to be a jerk. Which, props to him. Props to the character, to Matt, because it's like, if someone like that had showed up on my doorstep and said, hey, I need your help, we used to be friends, can you help me? I would have been like, screw you and get off my doorstep. Like all the cops. Because I'd be like, I want nothing to do with you. So I'm like, it speaks well to his character that he did not do that.
And even though, he has, they have that moment where, close to the end where he and Jenna kiss.
Yeah.
It's, he immediately is all like, we're just going to put that behind us, and
we're done. And I've got got yours. We are not friends, but
right. It's like, I made a commitment to this woman, and we're going to get married, and, her family's here, and I like them, and they like me, and he's,
I do
any other movie could have immediately been like, oh yeah, what am I doing marrying this person? I'm supposed to be with you, and like they rush off to Vegas or something, and yeah.
Although I do like that they didn't make Wendy out to be this heartless, awful bitch.
Yeah.
Because that was a trope. Well, probably still is a trope in romantic comedies where it's like,
Oh yeah.
the wrong one is just this terrible, awful person, and you are supposed to hate them. The
Right.
movie, I actually prefer it when they don't do that, where it's like either choice would be good. It's kind of like if you've seen the movie Sweet Home Alabama.
Yes.
Reese Witherspoon's character is like engaged to Patrick Dempsey,
Mm-hmm.
and he could have made him like the dirty, rotten, cheating, big time business city guy. And actually, no, he's actually a pretty decent guy. It was Patrick Dempsey, right? Was in that movie? No, I'm
I
doubting
think so.
Yeah, but he was
Yeah.
actually a really good man, and I
Which
think
is funny considering I was thinking of a completely different Patrick Dempsey movie, Enchanted,
well,
Yep.
yes,
It is
where the
sexy.
right they they're with the wrong person, but they end up with the right person, and actually the two wrong persons end up with each other and being the
that's
right
true. Yes,
configuration.
that's
So
another,
you know,
and that's another good example of this trope is, your wrong person. He's still a good person, still, and they're not a jerk. So I do like that Wendy isn't this heartless, awful, conniving biatch. But
right.
obviously she's like, hey, we need to decide, are we gonna live, like, where are we gonna live? We can't do this commuter relationship thing, which, fair play to her. No, you really can't sometimes, Not if you guys are gonna get married, but so I do like that. I like it when romantic, movies don't make the wrong person the evil so and so. So that's good.
And the fact that like again, depending on how you want to interpret whether this was an actual lived out lifetime, that's in that timeline, Matt and Wendy get married and presumably are happy together, and who knows what happened to Jenna and the magazine in that timeline, because
Oh, geez,
it turns out that the mole within the magazine is her.
Yes, in fact,
Which they actually give like a big clue to when we first meet adult Jenna and she's flipping through her mail. There's an envelope from Sparkle magazine.
but
So
but you don't think about it because you're
yeah,
just like, oh,
because
that's
you don't
just her
know.
mail, and she's figuring out what all this. So yeah. In fact, for the longest time, I thought, because I'd seen this movie, but it'd been a while, and I was like trying to remember the name of the magazine that she worked for in the movie, and I kept thinking it was Sparkle, which in a way it was, but
Yeah.
not 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 in that way quite yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, like Sparkle was the more memorable name of the magazine, and not Boys. Which I'm like,
I mean,
maybe there's
just
a hint there.
just based on those magazine names,
Yeah.
and the presentation that Jen ends up coming up with for the, kind of rebrand, like it sounds like they're gonna turn Poise into like Better Homes and Garden.
Which
Like
maybe
a magazine for like more mature audience, women.
Yeah.
And Sparkle is the, fresh, young, fashion forward. So it's like they don't even seem like they're catering to the same demographic.
Right. And you know what? Maybe, and talking about in not necessarily corporate speak, but like how you market to people. Maybe you do need to, because it's like, look at your demographic. Who is not being served by all these weird, bizarre, like I think of Lucy's presentation where it's like fashion, suicide, and trendy and edgy, and it's just kind of like
heroin chic to a whole new level. I'm like, oh no, we do not need a repeat of heroin chic, thank you.
And it's kind of like, hey, there's a whole lot of people who this does not resonate with. Maybe you talk to them, and that's what Jenna and Matt were trying to do with that presentation. And I'm like, you know what? I probably would have enjoyed that sort of a thing, but that's just whatever. But it was a good idea, and apparently Sparkle decided it was good too. So they're like, "Well, this is what
Yeah.
we're gonna do, and we're not gonna."
Yeah,
Oh,
it's just
geez.
weird. It's a weird thing. It's almost like that was like the part of the plot that was least thought about,
Yeah,
fleshed out.
yeah. I mean, mostly it was just like, hey, we need to, her job is they're having trouble at work, and she's got to come up with some ideas to help fix it, and what can we do, and all these city, what's hot in New York City, and what are all the big names talking about, and how do we make a name for ourselves? They were just way too close to the problem, and she's like, well, mentally I'm 13, so this is what I want. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, okay then. After I've had my big life-changing life lesson
Yeah.
that I desperately needed, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, when you're 13, you don't have your head on straight
Yeah.
most of the
Yeah.
time.
Hell, when I was 30, I barely had my head on straight.
Well, that too, but you had it on better than when you were 13.
Well, yeah, that is true. That is very
Like, I did
true.
not
That
trust
is, but that
people
is one
to
of
tell me.
one of the takeaways for that you could potentially, walk away from with this movie is like, young Jen is reading this magazine and it's like, 30, flirty and thriving, and is giving her the idea that by the time she's 30, she's going to have it figured out.
Nope.
And no, she doesn't. She still doesn't have it figured out because, like, your 30s are supposed to be, when things are supposed to be kind of, a better decade for you, because even in your 20s, like, you're either going to college or, you're doing something to establish some sort of career, and maybe you're getting married, maybe you're buying your first home. So there's still a lot of like just juggling a lot. So in theory, by the time you're 30, stuff has settled down some, but that still doesn't mean you've got your shit together.
No.
Like, I'm 41 now, and it wasn't, I mean, I'm still trying, there's still some shit I'm trying to figure out. Some of it is stuff that's out of my control, unfortunately, but I still have to figure out how to handle it.
Here's the dirty little
Rachel,
secret.
right there with you as someone who's a couple years older than you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same boat.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the dirty little secret, and this is why all these magazines at your local supermarket or wherever, I mean, I don't know how big they are now, but like I will go by our magazine rack at the library. I mean, and there's a variety of different magazines, but I'm talking about like these fashion magazines and whatever, and they are like proclaiming they have all the answers and they got it all, and if you just read the magazine, and they will tell you how to look, how to what to wear, what to eat, how to relationship stuff, all that stuff. And the reason that they keep publishing the same crap over and over and over and over and over again, none of it's changed, and it's all the same shit, is because they don't have their lives together either. And I bet you anything, you might even ask like someone like 60 years older, they still don't have it figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've muddled through as best they can, but
and sometimes that is the secret, is you never really get your shit together, but you just reach a point where you just don't care.
You're like, I'm good here. This is fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
How's that?
yeah. When I was
till you make it.
pretty much, like, when you're in middle school or high school, you're thinking, oh, this is what I want my life to be. But guess what? Reality strikes, and it's not that way. And I'm not saying don't have your dreams or don't have your ambition, but I'm also saying don't get so attached to it that if it doesn't happen, it's like that's the end of all things. It's like you got to adapt. And there's just,
I mean, I'm pretty sure when I was 13 that I thought I was going to be an archaeologist like Indiana Jones.
See?
Yeah.
It's like no, you got to pay the bills somehow. Like if you can do that as an archaeologist,
or a Power Ranger, one of the two. So
That would have been fun. So, some of that stuff, and you know what? That's why some of us still play video games.
Yep.
And that's okay.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, and that's a takeaway that I think is something positive that you could walk away from this is, regardless of your age, it's okay to have fun. You know, they go to, you know, they go to that party and
everyone's just standing around
and you know, Andy Serkis is having a conniption, and Jenna decides that busting out the Thriller dance is the best idea, and it works.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and that's one of the things that kind of annoys me a little bit with while I'm okay with Jenna's character progression of her being, you know, this cutthroat whatever that we never really get to see, turning into somebody who actually like listens to her coworkers and is collaborative and reconnects with her parents and all this stuff, that her wardrobe changes so drastically. Like, she works in a magazine and is fashionable. And I understand that, you know, maybe she's going with something a bit more mature for, you know, someone her age or whatever, but I think she ends up kind of looking a little dowdy. I kind of wish that that some of her fun personality still would have shown through with her wardrobe. Like, it didn't need to be like the crazy stuff when, you know, at the beginning where she's got like the chopsticks in her hair and, you know, the infamous dress from the, you know, the Thriller dance and all that. But eventually she's wearing like like Jackie O sweater set and matching pencil skirt, and it's like, even teenage Jenna, we saw, even, you know, before she did her little makeover, like, she was wearing like a fun pattern shirt and stuff. It's like, you could still show some personality, show that part of Jenna that's still youthful and fun and playful and wants to play with fashion as a form of showing her personality. Why does she have to say, why does she have to go from like Forever 21 to like Ann Taylor Loft?
See, and I wonder if, because by then, like, she realized what she had become, like what her wish would have, could have been, and I think that was like more to show, oh, this actually is like the fun personality wouldn't have been appropriate because she was like having a moment, like it was just kind of sad, and like she's going home to her parents and trying to figure out what happened, and she needs to, go back to her roots, I guess, or something like that. But I don't know. I just chalked
Is
it
that
up.
something that like the like the creators or whoever talked about? It's like, yeah, I know, as Jenna evolves, like, you know, her outfits soften is what they call, and it's like, I wouldn't call that softening, I'd call that downright dowdy.
Because when they did the photo shoot with Matt and all the teenagers and stuff, she actually had that cute little sundress on.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really sweet, and I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah, they could have stuck with like in that realm, and I think it would have been perfect, but yeah, by the time she's given like the presentation for the reset, and she looks like suburban soccer mom, and I'm like, that's like, that may be who she might become at some point in the future, but it's like, not right now. She's working. I mean, it's not necessarily a fashion magazine, it appears, but still, it's like, you know, she was using that as a form of, you know, expressing herself, and it's like, why are you shutting yourself up, Jenna, especially when you have that fabulous closet?
Oh man, but yeah, they had fun with it. They definitely, especially like the '80s stuff and the
oh yeah,
and all of those.
I mean, when Jenna's turning 13, I was 4, so
I was, yeah.
I'm not quite the demographic for that, because I'm
Well,
pretty sure my parents were dressing me in 1987.
yes.
But,
Well, mine definitely works. I was 2. But
and
yeah,
Britney did not exist yet.
Nope.
that seen that meme of like what everyone, what kids think the 80s was, and it's all neon and crazy bright colors, and it's like, no, it really was wood paneling in the basement and a
Yep.
and that 80s TV. It's like
if you wanted the neon, you had to go to the mall,
pretty much.
hang out in the food court
Yep.
or the arcade, which oftentimes was near the food court. So
It was all in the same place basically.
yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, and I do wish that we kind of knew what her job was after, like because it shows that she grows up and she and Maddie get married and they have a house and do all that. I kind of wish
and it's pink. It kind of looks like a Barbie dream house.
It's like that dream house that they wanted to kind of show. Oh, he built the dream house for as a kid. Then they got it in real life. That was sweet. I kind of wish we knew if she became a magazine editor or worked for a magazine at all, like, because I feel like, yeah, you can have a good, the big high powered career if you want, and have your family, loved ones, your relationships, what have you. It's like, just don't. I feel like the message of the movie is don't sacrifice the people who, like, your relationships, the people that care about you, just for your ambition, because sometimes when you're too cutthroat and that ambition is all you've got, it gets kind of lonely. But,
I do. I agree with that. So.
Like, you don't have to sacrifice the people in your life for your career or whatever, your goals.
Yeah. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your friends and family, and you shouldn't have to sacrifice yourself either, like your morals and your be true to yourself, know, even if that means being the dork.
And you know what? Sometimes the dorks have a lot more fun, and the hot shot.
Sometimes the dorks end up becoming the coolest people when they get older.
And then sometimes the hot shot on the basketball team ends up driving a taxi.
Yes.
Which I read somewhere that they
peaked in high school.
Yeah, I read somewhere that they weren't going to put that in there. Like, it was just, whoever the drove her back to Jersey was just going to be some random person. Like, no, what if it was that Chris Grandy guy that she had a crush on? and they cast Jim.
I just agreed, like,
that's perfect.
Get out of the car.
He's like, I'm still living at home, but not really. But it's like, yeah, you either are or you aren't.
Yeah, there's no.
I mean, wouldn't that just be the worst? It's like, hey, remember, this is the song that we made out to in high school. Like,
yeah,
nope. Like, I'll hoof it from here, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not that there's anything wrong with driving a taxi. It's just
no. And, my number for you, completely unlisted.
Yeah.
Right.
That's when she tells him whatever the New York area code is, and then 8675309, and he would probably not even get the reference.
Yep. I got the reference.
I would get, I would get the reference, but
I understood that reference. Oh goodness.
But yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, so now we're nostalgic for 2004, so sue us.
Yeah.
Here we are. This is like I said, this is a fun little movie. Nothing too heavy, too deep. But sometimes that's all you're looking for in a movie.
Yep. It's a fun movie to have. It's not one you necessarily need to pay a lot of attention to. Like I said, it's got a good soundtrack. So it's just kind of one you can have on while you're doing something else. I was folding t-shirts while I had it on, so and it made the t-shirt folding go very quickly. So yeah,
It is nice
yay
to,
for that.
to have something to do while you're doing the laundry.
Mm-hmm. Because it's always the putting the laundry away part that's the hardest part.
Yep. How does that
Yep.
thing go? The meme, like 7 to 10 days to fold and put back into place.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I can get this washed and dried in a day, and then it just sits there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yay. Any other thoughts?
Like I said earlier, as someone who's watched it for the first time, it's worth it.
Yeah. Although I will
So
say
good.
this, I feel like the boyfriend strip tease in the middle. I feel like that was just
Yeah, that
purely to
could have
get the
probably
PG-13
done so.
rating. Yeah.
And especially to Ice Ice Baby. Like,
Yes.
I get it. He's a hockey player. He plays for the New York Rangers. If you did not know who the Rangers are when they dropped that little piece of information about him, that's New York's hockey team. Um,
Although, Nick, I'm sorry. For a second, I thought it was the baseball team. I'm new to hockey. I'm getting there.
yeah.
Guys. I was like, wait
Well,
a minute.
they're not his beloved Canadians, so
Nope.
That's
probably
true. But
that
first,
probably
I
didn't
mean,
matter.
it took me a while to like, okay, that's the baseball team, right? No, that's hockey. Just kidding.
No, that's
Yeah.
hockey. The fact that she's dating a hockey player and her last name's Rink.
Oh, geez. I didn't think about that till you just said it.
Yeah. I didn't think about it either until I saw someone else say it somewhere. But yeah. But yeah, he's apparently there's a proper like breakup scene
Oh,
that got filmed, but it got canned. So there were several scenes that either were planned and never got filmed, or some did and just they never got used. Like originally the ending was gonna be when Jenna is back in 1987 and she kisses Matt and then she tells Lucy to shove off, and then she and Matt run off together hand in hand as they were supposed to run out of the house into like the backyard or something, and there was going to be one of those giant like inflatable bouncy castles,
oh.
and they were going to go into it and start jumping, and then eventually would turn into adult Matt and Jenna in their wedding attire jumping in the bouncy castle. Like that was going to be part of their wedding reception, is they were going to have a bouncy castle.
Wow. That would have been a choice.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, if I'd had a wedding where that could have been a thing, that might have, yeah, if I'd known that, and that could have been an option. That sounds like something I might have done, actually. So, but for whatever reason, they changed it, and actually it was gonna, at one point, it was just gonna end with young, 13-year-old Matt and Jenna, kind of getting together, and they weren't going to do the flash forward. So, or they were going to do the flash forward to their wedding and then stop there, and they were not going to show like the dream house and everything. So,
I'm glad they ended it the way they did because
Same here.
feels
yes.
complete. You gotta see them like, and then having the razzles on the front.
Yes.
Front yard. I'm like,
Yes.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, even if we don't know what she's doing as far as, a career, she's happy. And that, I think that's the important thing is, you may not have it all figured out by the time you're an adult, but that's okay. You can still be happy.
Yes, you can.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have to have the corner office and because that's the thing. Everybody wants something from you when you have those things, and they're not always that's not always the greatest the greatest situation to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Creepy weirdo who just comes in her office and starts making out with her. Jeez.
Yeah. Especially you can see in perfect silhouette.
Yes, I know. I realized that this time I saw it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, people would see it anyway.
He's like, sit down and take a memo, and I'm like, dude, you can see through the frosted glass.
Yeah, have some. It's like, okay, fine. I was like, oh, okay, no, it's not okay, fine. You're gonna cheat, but if you're going to cheat, at least have some discretion, for pity's sake.
Go someplace where the walls are a little more solid so you can't see through them or hear through them.
Creeper. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, now it's a fun little movie. If you haven't seen it, just pop it in, pop some popcorn, and it's a pretty mellow watch.
Mm-hmm. Fold some laundry.
Yeah.
You could have the basket right there in front of you. You could be folding towels while it's on your screen.
Yeah.
I had to fold 2 full drawers because I went to IKEA earlier and I had to get some hangers because Chauncey and I are both notoriously bad about beating up hangers and to the point where they just can't take it anymore.
We give up. We surrender.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I got some hangers, but I was like, I really want to, get mine because I do not have a closet. Fantastic, like what Jenna has. I have IKEA furniture, which looks great, but it only holds so much. Mm-hmm. And I was getting to the point where, like, if I went and pulled a t-shirt out of a drawer, it would just become a whole thing, a whole mess. So I was like, I need a better way to organize these drawers and still make it so that it's functional. So I got these things that are not really intended for drawers, but I've made them work and refolded all of my t-shirts so that they can all fit and I can still. The biggest thing is I needed to be able to still see what the t-shirt was. Because I own a lot of graphic tees. So I was like, I want to make sure that I'm grabbing the one I think. It's like, do I want to wear the Metallica shirt today? Or do I want to wear the, Power Rangers t-shirt today?
Yes,
I gotta be able to tell which one I'm grabbing.
That is a very important distinction to make.
Yeah. So, but I'm just saying, refolding 2 drawers of nothing but t-shirts and a few other things went by in a breeze having this movie on. So
there you go. That is a ringing endorsement.
That's my endorsement. Great for folding clothes.
Oh, we love it. All right. Well, anything else we want to touch on?
A little bit of trivia besides Judy Greer's apparently mini clone. The other of the 6, which I find funny saying now because there's a musical called 6. It's all about Henry VIII's wives. Completely different 6. See if you can find a future Academy Award winner and Marvel superhero in the 6. I'm not going to tell you who.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I know who it is.
Well, I know you guys probably know, but for our listeners that may not know, I'm not going to tell them. They're going to have to either look it up themselves or watch it and see. So she does not look it's not as, I don't think she's not quite, I don't think just by first glance, I don't think necessarily you would recognize her, but yeah, there's a future Marvel superhero. I mean, obviously Mark Ruffalo is also a future,
but he's not a 6 chick.
Marvel superhero, but yeah, he's not a teenage girl. So,
yes. Well, anyway, and if you want to send us your answers, not saying that there'll be any points, but
We'll give you a virtual pat on the back. Gold
yes.
star.
But send it to us in your feedback this week. Whatever it is you got. Which the way you send us feedback, let's see how I did that there. You can send us through our email address, which is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, which is thefiveishfangirls.com, and there's our show notes there and links to all of our social media, and you can leave comments there as well. And we're on Facebook, we are on Instagram and YouTube, where we post. That's one place we post our podcast. We also post our podcast pretty much everywhere you get podcasts, so it's all good. And then also, if you want to support the podcast financially, if you are in a position to do that, you can go to our Patreon, which is also linked on our website, and you can also visit our merch shop. We've got some fun shirts and mugs and whatever else is on their bags. A lot of fun stuff. So check that out. Again, linked on our website. But however you like to interact with us, support us, we thank you for doing so. We thank you for listening and being our audience, and we really do appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you.
Mm-hmm.
We love you for it.
And a little bit of housekeeping real quick. We will be off next week for Memorial Day, so that everyone can go do whatever it is people do on Memorial Day. I'm in Indiana. There's a big race. There's a big 500-mile race the day before. So that's what goes on here. Not that I'm going. I do not want to bake sitting at the track all day. But people tend to travel and get together. It's kind of the unofficial kickoff of summer for a lot of people. So there'll be barbecues and if fireworks and all sorts of stuff. So
if you can go drop by your local cemetery, maybe lay some flowers if you have relatives, or maybe there's a grave that hasn't been visited for a time. Sometimes people will do that and just leave a few things.
Yeah, if they see one that's maybe buy a few extra flowers, and maybe if you see one that looks like it's not been visited, maybe drop a flower or two for that person. So
I don't know. It was always a tradition with my grandma. We always made sure all of our relatives at least had flowers. But so
yeah,
and then go to a park and have a picnic.
Yes.
Race, whatever it is you do. But have a good one. And if you're not in the US, just have a fun Monday, I guess.
Yeah. Have a good weekend, and
you could go to your local cemetery and do something. No one's stopping you from doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll after our little Memorial Day weekend break, we'll be back after that. By then, it'll be June.
Yeah.
And it'll be someone's birthday.
Yes.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah. And then it's someone else's birthday. And by someone, I mean some show's birthday. So we got a lot of celebrating to do.
We do.
Yes.
So hopefully you all will be here with us to celebrate. So
we won't be partied out.
Yep. All right.
Summer reading starts in June, and I gonna be busy at work.
Yeah. My library's already started their summer reading program.
We always start ours June 1st every year, and every year people ask, when does your summer reading start? June 1st. Same time, same day.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep.
We just keep it simple. But anyway, so go do summer reading if you haven't done, if you're not started already. Anyway.
All right. Well, with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Bingo saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Salt Lake from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Yeah, I don't really trust anything Lucy says after she stole my Pop Rocks in 3rd grade. Don't be a Pop Rock stealer.
Oh, don't do that.
Thank you, our Fiveish fam, for joining us on this week's geeky journey. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Stay connected with us on our website, theFivishFangirls.com, and follow us on most social media with @FivishFangirls. Plus, check out our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back, to see how we're making a positive impact in our community. Until next time, stay nerdy and let the squee continue.